These are the Mizuno Morelia Neo 4 made in Japan's, the non-beta version, and they are easily in the top 5 football boots on the market right now. And in today's 1-month review, I'm going to tell you guys why. So it's been a long time since I've started testing these. It's been since probably January when I came out with the original review, maybe February, I can't remember. And then a play test a long time ago as well. Today's all about the 1-month review, long-term testing. They are still actually kind of damp and wet from this morning when I went out and did my final session in them, and they are absolutely beat to crap, and I love it because they are stupid, stupid good. Let's start off with the Soulplate. Now, the Soulplate of the Morelia Neo series hasn't really been updated that much over the past 4 generations, but it has because they've made micro improvements. So what I mean by that is they've made stiffness improvements to the midfoot with this kind of ridge area or spine, if you will. They've made it very, very snappy, very flexible. It doesn't overflex, and you've got a ton of stiffness here through the midfoot, which is absolutely sensational and ideal for what you want in kind of an all-around speed boot. What's interesting about this particular Soulplate and this boot in general is that it falls into a lot of different categories. For Mizuno, the Alpha is technically their hardcore speed boot, but they also market this and the beta version as sort of speed boots as well, and I think a lot of people consider them as speed boots. But then a lot of the boot heads who are into leather boots put this up against a Copa Mundial or against a Morelia 2 or against an Adler boot or against a Copa or whatever. And so they fall into a lot of different categories, and that's why I think these boots are so special, because they're very lightweight, and the Soulplate is actually quite aggressive, even though it's all conical studs. As you guys know, I absolutely love conical studs. I think these are fantastic. The little ovular stud here in kind of the knuckle of the midfoot makes for a little bit more aggressive push-off as you kind of push into the ground, and then push off a little bit of extra grip there as you're moving forward. And overall, this Soulplate is really, really fantastic. The only reason I think that it doesn't get the top marks is because there's something about it, and I can't really describe it, and I'm not sure if I can pinpoint this, but it's not quite exactly what I would look for. I might want something a tiny bit more aggressive, kind of like the Asics studs that have the little cutouts, so it just creates that little bit more bite. Maybe it's a little bit longer, I'm not sure, but it's still gonna get an 8.5 out of 10 for the Soulplate. The heel area for the Morelia Neo 4 made in Japan is exceptional. It is one of the best heel areas on the market, in my opinion. It doesn't quite go to Asics level because Asics has done such an incredible job at curating their heel areas in a way that just fits everybody. These are so close. They're so close. And in my opinion, between Asics and the Neo 4 Beta and Neo 4 and Morelia 2, to be fair, all of Mizuno's heel areas really are the top of the top of the top if you want a boot that's not going to give you any heel blisters. I love this heel area. The micro suede is incredible. It's very good quality. They've got padding here around kind of the top ridge, and so if you have, it kind of sits on top of your heel bone. So if you imagine your heel bone here, and then it sits kind of right there and locks your heel into the back into the back of this particular heel area, which is awesome, and it feels great. The micro suede grips onto grip socks or non-grip socks easily as well, especially when it's a little bit wet outside. I can't speak highly enough about this heel area, but again, it's not quite Asics level. So for me, this heel area is also going to get an 8.5 out of 10. The upper on the Morelia Neo 4 is absolutely sensational. Between this synthetic leather you have here in the midfoot, which provides a little bit less stretch than regular natural leather does to give you a little bit more lockdown. You've got this incredibly soft and plush K-leather in the forefoot. They do such a nice job of making that transition really seamless. You guys know in a lot of different videos now, I've sort of complained about boots that are constructed in this way. And to be honest, a lot of brands have actually copied this DNA, which is sort of a synthetic material here in the midfoot and leather in the forefoot, but no one other than Asics has actually been able to pull it off in a way that really makes you feel like it's a seamless sensation throughout the entire boot. The 99-gram leather boots, which are right there, obviously are a boot that I had enjoyed playing in. I played games in them back in 2022 and 23 a little bit as well. Good, but again, the leather in the forefoot is just a little bit too bulbous compared to the thinness of the midfoot, and so you get kind of this weird sensation where it feels different to pass than it does to volley, than it does to shoot, and it's not really a cohesive sensation all around, whereas this is a totally different piece of work. This is an absolutely beautifully constructed pair of football boots. The upper is exceptionally soft. We'll talk about Breakin Time in just a second, but it is amazing. And really the only reason I think you could argue that it's not a 9 out of 10 is a personal preference for a knit or a personal preference for a synthetic. And so for me, this upper is getting a 9 out of 10. Lockdown for the Morelia Neo 4 is pretty good. I would say the addition of the runner's loop hole actually completely changes the game for these. I would say if that wasn't the case, they'd be kind of okay. There's a little bit of slippage side to side, and that's just because it is a leather football boot, so they are going to stretch a little bit. You get the runner's knot going, which I did for a couple sessions in the last month or so of really intensively wearing these, and oh my goodness, it changes the way that you wear these, because as soon as you get that lockdown right here, it completely locks your ankle into the heel area. The micro suede wraps on, and it is just bliss, honestly. So lockdown is really good. The only reason it's not getting top marks is because this is not a reinforced synthetic material. Yes, you have the Running Bird logo here, so you are going to get actually pretty substantial lockdown for what this boot is compared to other boots in this sort of mixed synthetic leather category, but it's not speed boot level lockdown, in my opinion. Something like an F50 or even Mizuno's own Alpha, things like that are insanely locked in. The clone, not the Magnetico, the Shadow, excuse me, the Shadow is insane as far as lockdown goes. This is not that, but it is still pretty good. And so for me, this is going to get an 8 out of 10. Breakin Time for the Morelia Neo 4. Now, one of those things that is going to depend on your foot shape, so this is a little bit subjective. I find it to be a little bit more difficult to break in simply because it does start out pretty narrow. This material does break in beautifully over the course of time. The leather, no issues whatsoever. So I can slip in it. I don't have any issues with the toe box. There's no weird kind of pinching anywhere in that forefoot area. It's just the midfoot where my foot is the widest that I have a little bit of hot spots breaking it in here on the width. And so for me, the break-in time is going to be pretty good. It's up there. It's a little bit above average, but again, it's not one of those boots. A 9 out of 10, for instance, in this category is a boot that I can slip in with absolutely zero problems. And it's right there, no issues, no hot spots, no pain, and I can play in them basically straight out of the box. The other boot that comes to mind is the Morelia 2. That one, 9 out of 10 for break-in time, because there is no break-in time. Whereas this one for me just has that little bit of break-in time. It probably took me about 2 hours to fully, 2.5 hours of like proper wear time to really get in a groove with these. So for me, this is gonna get a 7 out of 10. Durability and build quality, there's not much to say. It's a Mizuno made in Japan product. It is the best on the market, period, as far as build quality. Durability will depend on your surface, but if you put this up against another product from a different brand on an AG surface or on an FG surface, these I almost guarantee will last longer. And that's just because of the quality of materials, the build, the process, the 24-hour lasting period for the made in Japan products, all the above, right? So when you're choosing a made in Japan product, and I'm not sponsored by this, I don't have to say this, but you really can tell the difference between something like this and the quality of something that's not a made in Japan product from Mizuno. It's pretty remarkable. So for me, there's nothing else to say on this one. Quality of build and durability, durability and build quality, I got it backwards, that's okay, is a 9 out of 10. Okay, shape and fit for the Morelia Neo 4 is amazing. It is so good because it's really accommodating. You've got an incredible leather forefoot. You've got a really nice and pliable synthetic midfoot without it going kind of overboard and overstretching. And so this really is going to fit most people. Even if the break-in time isn't absolutely perfect for everyone, it's going to be amazing for a lot of people. For wider footed players like myself, it might take a little bit of time, especially when you're getting through some of that running bird logo stiffness. That is it's actually a synthetic, so it's not going to stretch at all. So just making sure you can break it in. Once you do break it in, this boot is so adjustable to different foot shapes that I think it's one of those boots you have to try on simply because it will probably fit you. Regardless of what your foot shape is, you go true to size or you go half a size down if you're in really narrow foot, and you're going to find this boot to be something you never want to take off. It's a boot that you just enjoy playing in, and that's 100% been my experience. So shape and fit for the Morelia Neo 4 made in Japan is easily a 9 out of 10. All right, so competition for the Morelia Neo 4, as I described before towards the beginning of this video, it is one of those boots that falls kind of into two different categories. So I'm gonna go two different ways with this. I'll describe what it is in the speed boot category, and then there's another category that I think this does fall into, which is basically all the boots that copied the DNA of this boot, which is synthetic midfoot, leather in the forefoot with a semi-aggressive sole plate. And so I'll go through both of those and kind of show you how it stacks up. So let's first go into the speed boot category. So if we're talking about speed boots, the most raw, crazy sensation you can possibly have, super barefoot, all that stuff, you have all of the top end speed boots. So you've got the Vapor from Nike, you've got the Adidas F50 and F50 laceless, you've got the Razor from Skechers, the Scudetta from Sokito, you've got, what else? The Velocita Matrix Pro from Umbro, you have the Furon, of course, from New Balance, you have the, I did say Ultra 5 and Ultra 5 Carbon from Puma. I'm probably missing a couple in there, but those are all kind of the raw, really nice, and the Alpha, of course, from Mizuno. And then you have the Beta model, which is, of course, the one with the knit in the midfoot area. As far as speed boots go, I would have to probably take this out of the top three, just from objective, this is what a speed boot is. That being said, if you're evaluating this as far as quality, comfort, all that, it's lightweight as well. So if you do all of the categories, this easily is probably in the top three. Alpha's probably number one. As far as objective, how good that speed boot is, I would say Scudetta is up there, and I would say the beta version of this is up there. This probably falls a little bit lower down the list as far as objective speed boots. Now, subjectively, I'm picking this over pretty much everything else in that list, outside of maybe the Vapor and the Scudetta, because I think both of those are exceptional products. And the Razor and the Furon are also really good for me personally. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult for me to pick as far as that goes. So these, I would say, on the speed boot category, these fall like kind of upper middle table as far as objective speed boots. Now take this on the other side of the list towards the boots that have kind of copied and pasted this formula, and those are Umbro Toco 4 Pro. So again, leather with the synthetic. You have the Copa Pure, because that's leather synthetic. You've got the Athleta Array T7, which I absolutely adore. I think it's amazing. You've got the DS Lite X Fly 5, one of my favorite boots on the market. And then you've also got the Diadora Brazil Elite Veloce ITA LPX something, something, something. It's like the longest name you can possibly think of, but I basically had most of it. There's probably a couple others in there, but those are like the main ones on the market today. And the beta model, obviously. I'm sort of wrapping them into both. These are the top dog in that category, period. End of story. Even if I probably enjoy the Asics a little bit more, maybe, it's kind of a toss-up between those two. This and the beta model are easily on the top of that list. Number one, because they invented the category, but number two is they objectively are better. Now, the Athleta Array T7 is the wide foot god, so that boot from a wide foot perspective is the boot that I would recommend for pretty much anyone who has problems with boots being too narrow. This, though, is the king. And I'm going to say this is actually even this and the DS Lite X55 are actually above the beta model in that category just because of their adjustability with the standard U-throat tongue. So for me, this is an incredible pair of football boots. All right, so performance for the top-end Mizuno made in Japan product, it's pretty fantastic. The only reason it's not getting top marks is because of a little bit of break-in time and a little bit of lockdown. That being said, this is one of the best performing football boots on the market for an overall package of comfort, lightweight, performance, lockdown, all of the above. You get it with these boots. They're so meticulously designed and so meticulously created that it really is one of those things that you look at the boot wall behind me if I'm going out to a session and I go, I'm just going to get these and wear these because this does everything I want it to do, right? So it's one of my daily rotation shoes. It's one of the boots that I'm going to pick up pretty much over most other things on the market outside of the ton of boots that I have to test on a regular basis. But if I'm going out with a bunch of mates and just enjoying some pickup, this is absolutely going to be on my short list. And for that reason, the performance is going to get an 8.5 out of 10. All right, overall, we are finally here. The overall score of the Mizuno Morelia Neo 4 made in Japan. This is a boot that pretty much does everything almost perfectly. It is an exceptional pair of football boots. There are very few other boots on the market that actually do what this does and do it even on par. I think the DS Lite X55 is the closest thing to this. I tend to prefer the Asics boot maybe a little bit more just because it has a little bit more bite to it. That being said, overall, as a package, this is an incredible pair of football boots. In my opinion, it's better than the beta model, especially if you have wider feet. And it takes all of the best aspects of the made in Japan Mizuno Morelia 2, which is of course a GOAT, and some of the speed boot tech and some of the more modern stuff that you're looking for. I see you, Soulplate, and puts it into one package. So it's a 9 out of 10 football boot, guys. There's really no other way around it. It is that freaking good. It is in the top echelon of football boots on the market today, and I would highly, highly, highly suggest you go and pick up a pair for yourself. So that is going to be it for the review of the Made in Japan Mizuno Morelia Neo 4 non-beta. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, I will leave links down in the description box below for the top end and not top end miter balls, which are my go-to for any sort of footballs that I'm going to be playing in for competition or for training or for kick around. That's why I reached out to them. And then also WeFoot Grip Socks, who you know have been a huge supporter of the channel in the last year or so, and they are absolutely amazing. I'm actually wearing my pair right now, or wearing a pair right now. So go down in the description box below. You can find discount codes down there. As always, be awesome. Take care. I'll see you guys in the next video.